Hey guys, welcome to Smack Talk SummerSlam review. We look at the biggest party of the summer and we give our scores for every single match. That's including the matches on the kickoff show, guys. Why? Because we just love wrestling. If you're new to the channel and you like what you're seeing, why not like, subscribe and press that bell to keep notified, and pass it on to all your friends so they can enjoy this content as well. So, with all that said and done, let's get on with the review. Here's SummerSlam 2019 review. So first things first, let's look at the kickoff show, and we kicked off with the Cruiserweight Championship match between Drew Gulak and Oney Hawkins. For me, I was really excited when this match was announced because I was like, damn, Drew Gulak is an absolute brilliant Cruiserweight champion. I've enjoyed everything he's done so far. I mean, Oney Hawkins, who's one of my favourite members of the NXT roster, to challenge for this title. Oney Hawkins for me is brilliant. Yes, I do prefer him when he's tagging, but to be honest, this was a really good outing and it was something different, not your typical cruiserweight match. And when I say typical cruiserweight match, there was not a lot of high flying. This was a hard hitting, destructive match. Oney Hawkins seemed to come out like a madman trying to take out Drew Gulak, who was a more calm, destructive kind of heel, which is something we haven't seen. Yes, Gulak did win. He had to go a little bit far in the heelish styles to win, but once he won, it was just, yeah, makes sense. Gulak is still such a good champion. Oney Hawkins came across as that mental, unhinged babyface, and I actually really enjoyed this match. For a kickoff show match, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. So we had Apollo Crews versus Buddy Murphy, and at first I was like, why are we getting this match? And then I thought about it and I was like, actually no, I do want to see these two compete, because Apollo's one of those guys who's so underrated. People forget how talented he is, and Buddy Murphy, if you haven't watched 205, you just don't know how good this guy is, and he is absolutely brilliant. He was a fantastic heel champion as a cruiserweight champion. Him coming to SmackDown was the right choice, and then he just hasn't been used. This was officially his first SmackDown match since coming over from 205. How crazy is that? The Superstar Shakeup was months ago, and Buddy Murphy has just made his debut on SmackDown, and it wasn't even on SmackDown, it was on SummerSlam kickoff show. That's just mad. But yes, both guys did exactly what I was expecting. A fantastic match, both using absolutely fantastic techniques, and you're just going, damn, this is a brilliant match. If this was a TV match, this would be really, really good. Unfortunately, the match ended in disqualification. Buddy Murphy got taken out by none other than Rollins. That's right, Daniel Bryan's Rollins. He was absolutely annoyed with Buddy Murphy for name dropping him last week on SmackDown Live, for stating he's the one who attacked Roman Reigns. Roman went on to just absolutely devastate Buddy Murphy, and stating, you need to keep my name out of your mouth. Obviously, this disappointed a lot of fans because the match itself was decent. Buddy Murphy looked like he was going to get his first victory. Technically, he did get a first victory, but it would have been nice to actually see the match end, then Rollins come out and destroy Buddy Murphy. So for me, I'm going to give this match a 2 out of 5 stars. If this leads to Buddy Murphy being on more TV time, I'm all up for that. So let's hope this happens. Like I stated, a 2 out of 5 stars. Next up, we had Elias on the kickoff show, and he was playing a song on why he hates Toronto. Obviously, SummerSlam was at Toronto, Canada, and you just don't know who's going to turn up. And who else but Canada's rated R superstar, I can't do it, I can never do it, Edge turned up. My all-time favourite wrestler turned up. Biggest pop of the night. It was just like, yep, that is the biggest pop of the night, because no one expected it. He comes out, he walks down into the ring, spears Elias, and that's it. And another pop for just that. I rewatched that. That's how good that was. I was like, damn, I need to see that again. Yeah, that was still good. He can still do it. And I know, I shouldn't mark it because Edge is my favourite superstar and I am absolutely a fanboy for anything he does. But yeah, he's getting a 5 out of 5 stars. Well done, Edge. If Edge is in anything, it will automatically get 5 stars from me. So if you're not happy with that score, you go, well, that's a bit ridiculous. It could be a 2.5 or a 3. No, it's a 5. It's got the radar superstar, it's my show, and it's Edge. If you've got any problems with that, tough luck, kiddos, because Edge is brilliant. No matter what he does, he is brilliant. So 5 out of 5 stars. Ooh, I'm sorry about that. Well, let's get back to the actual review. So we had for our final match of the kickoff show, we did have Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defending their tag team women's championships against the IIconics, the former women's champions. The whole reason for their rematch was apparently the IIconics never got pinned, but they did. That's how they got eliminated. So logic didn't really come into play when it came into this match. If it just went, oh, the IIconics have a rematch clause, that would have made more sense. But yeah, this was actually a fun little match between all 4 women. They didn't have as much time as they did when it was on Raw, which, you know, it kind of makes sense. But it was, again, a good thing for me. It made sense that the women's tag team match should happen at SummerSlam. Even though they just won the titles on Monday, the titles should be on every pay-per-view. They should be used on TV. And that's what I think they need to start doing. They need to build up this women's tag team division, and this is the right step in my opinion. It was interesting. Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss were the baby faces in this match, and it really showed. The fans were super supportive on both of them. Alexa Bliss's outfit was Buzz Lightyear. That already made every fan just like, yeah, she wins. She's got the best costume. And the IIconics were fantastic as well. The IIconics really using what their strengths. So they're not the greatest in-ring talent, but they're literally screeching, angry heel annoyance is fantastic, and that's what really worked for them in this match. Like I stated on my notes, is Alexa Bliss face? And it really confused me, but it seemed like it. Even Corey Graves was annoyed with Alexa Bliss. He is the heel commentator, and he was stating how annoyed he is with Alexa Bliss living up to these fans' love. It was awful. But yeah, I was happy with the match. There was a few mistakes between everyone in the match. Alexa Bliss was I think the only one who didn't make a mistake in this match. So for me, I'm going to give the match itself a 2 out of 5 stars. It wasn't the greatest match. There wasn't a lot of time on it, but it did its purpose. It got another match for the women's tag team titles out of the way, and now we can start rebuilding that division with 2 very much light superstars with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Now, if they are going the path of baby faces with these 2, that would be very, very interesting. So this moves us on to the main show itself, and we started off with Becky Lynch versus Natalya. This was a submission match, so pretty much anything goes in this match. Your only way you win the match is if you submit your opponent in the ring. And this was a good showing for both women. I thought this was a good starting match. For me, it was, on the main card itself, it was the weakest of all 3 women's matches on the main card, but it was definitely better than the women's tag team match on the kickoff show. And it was interesting. You got to see a lot more brutality from Natalya, which you don't often get to see. And it was interesting. Natalya, I think her and creative did expect her to get a lot of pops, because they do say Canada's like La La Land, like over here in the UK. We don't always support the baby faces. Sometimes we just go for the heels, and I think that's what they were expecting, like Natalya to get a lot of pops because she's Canadian. She's kind of like a baby face slash heel right now. She's in that transition, in my opinion. But yeah, she got a few pops. She did get a big pop coming out with the Canadian flag, but Becky Lynch was definitely more over than she was in her home country, which was really interesting. Both women showing off great submission techniques you don't often get them to show. Natalya hitting Becky Lynch with her disarmer was fantastic. The fans really popped for that. But the best one was beforehand when Becky hit Natalya with the sharpshooter. and the crowd just went crazy. I think automatically the sharpshooter is just like that iconic move in Canada, and we're all going crazy to see Becky Lynch hit it on Natalya, and it looked like it caused more damage on Natalya than the sharpshooter did. I mean, the disarmer did with Becky Lynch from Natalya, and it did seem like that. But I've got to say this, Becky Lynch is in contention with The Rock with the worst sharpshooter. They both do it. They just doesn't look right when they do it. And don't get me wrong, you know, even The Rock stated his sharpshooter wasn't the best, but I think Becky's was at that same level of, you know, she's not comfortable using this move. She's probably used it on the indies a few years ago, and this is probably one of the first times in a long time she's actually hit the submission and move again. Natalya, when she does it, it's so beautiful. She does a very beautiful sharpshooter. It looks painful. She just hooks it in, and it just looks absolutely destructive. But yeah, both women going all at it. Both Becky selling of her leg was fantastic. Natalya selling the arm was great as well. There was one bit where Natalya has Becky up in the ring post. She hooks her in a sharpshooter there. It looks like Becky's going to tap out. Becky manages to break out. Becky does win the match with the disarmer at the end, and Becky retains her Raw Women's Championship. I thought this was a fantastic match between two good rivalries. If it can continue this, that's fine. If that's it, also I'm happy with that. But I'm going to give the match itself a 2.5 out of 5. Next up, we had Dolph Ziggler versus Goldberg. I think again this was a match. It wasn't the match of how is this match going to go out. It is how long is this match going to be. And it wasn't. It was longer than I expected, because I was expecting just spear, jackhammer. There we go. And we did get that, but it was 2 super kicks which Dolph Ziggler managed to hit straight away, which it did, you know, take down Goldberg. He tried to go for a pinfall. He only got one count each time, and then Goldberg obviously spear, jackhammer, wins the match. I mean, like, oh, that's it. That's great. You know, a bit of a surprise. Dolph got to manage at least to hit the super kick, and his selling was fantastic with a jackhammer and spear. Brilliant. And then he just gets the mic and he calls back Goldberg from the top of the ramp. Goldberg comes out, he spears him again. He goes away, he walks back to Gorilla. Again, he gets the mic and calls out Goldberg. Goldberg does come back out, his music hits again. He lifts up Dolph Ziggler. He does that running spear from the apron. Absolutely destroys Dolph Ziggler. That's it, Ziggler's dead. And so a part of me was like, oh, why are they doing this, you know? And then it hit me, because with the Undertaker Roman Reigns match where they had them tagging, and that's the last Undertaker match, we don't really like that. Kind of cleansed the Undertaker from the Undertaker Goldberg match at Saudi Arabia. This match did the exact same thing for Goldberg. Now when we think of Goldberg, we go, damn, his last match he just destroyed Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler's selling was so good, he made Goldberg look $1 million. And that's what the company needed to do. They needed to wash away, they needed to cleanse that last match and just go, no, this is Goldberg's last match. He destroys Dolph Ziggler. How impressive is his spear? And that's what they did. They made him look $1 million. So for me, it was an outcome we knew which was going to happen, but the way they did it and Dolph just calling out Goldberg was just brilliant. I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. A very short match, but did so much for Goldberg. Next up, we had the United States Championship match where we saw AJ Styles defending his title against Ricochet, the former US champion. This was an absolutely fantastic match. For me personally, this was possibly one of the best matches of the night. The winner will be, I think, is a bit obvious, but this was a close second or third, just of best matches of the night. The things Ricochet can do is just outstanding. I honestly do think Ricochet is a superhero. I think he dressed up as Black Panther, and I was just like, oh man, that's cool. It looks absolutely awesome on him. Wrong superhero for him to wear. It's got to be Miles Spider-Man. It has to be that. He is for me. He is Spider-Man. Ricochet. If if Disney want to do a Spider-Man film for Miles Morales, Ricochet's the man they have to hire to play him, because he already is Spider-Man, and that's just in my opinion. But he was managing to use Karl Anderson, Luke Gallows, jumped on top of their shoulders. They didn't even notice. That's how nimble he is. Takes out AJ Styles. Later on in the match, AJ's just worked the crap out of Ricochet. It's like he can't. Ricochet selling on the leg was fantastic as well. He goes for a spring jump off the top rope. He can't do it with two legs, but he manages to do it with one leg, which is absolutely mental. People can't even do it. Some people can't even do that with two legs, and he manages to do it with one leg. That just shows you how talented this lad is. And then, yes, Gallows and Anderson did get involved, and that started changing the tide for AJ. But it looked like Ricochet was going to go for the win, and then this is, AJ's turnaround was just fantastic. AJ was getting his ass beaten at the start. He turns the tide. Ricochet starts getting more and more momentum, and then AJ just turns on its head. He converts Ricochet from top rope, puts him into the Styles Clash, hits the Styles Clash. AJ Styles retains the United States Championship. I thought this was a fantastic match. I think pure talent in the ring with AJ and Ricochet. I want to see it one more time, just once more, just one more match between them. I think, and then that's it. The feud has to end there. But yeah, I'm going to give this match a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, we had Ember Moon versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This was again a great match, and I put on my predictions this would possibly be the best match, women's match of the night. Unfortunately, it wasn't, but it definitely was the sleeper match of the women's matches. Reason was, it just did what I wanted it to do. The crowd were umming and ahhing. Obviously, you have two baby faces with Ember Moon and Bayley, so it's hard to have an aggressor and aggressee. So for them to, it was interesting. Ember seemed to be more aggressive in this match. We got to see a lot more in-ring abilities, which we don't often get to see with Ember Moon. She's kind of lurked in the shadows on SmackDown Live since moving to Raw, and then she getting this opportunity to take on Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title, I think was a smart choice, mainly because it really highlighted how good Ember Moon is. And I was already a massive Ember Moon fan back from her time on NXT. I think her time on Raw I think people forgot about her a little bit, and this match really kind of was like, yes, this is a great match, because it was fun. You got to see Ember Moon pull off moves we don't often get to see. Bayley was just fantastic. Fans were singing singing for both Bayley and Ember Moon, and it really did. The crowd started off like, oh yeah, this is okay, this is fine, to, oh my god, this is actually really entertaining, this is fun. And that was the main thing. I think they accomplished what they wanted to set out. They made the SmackDown title seem as important, and it really was, for me as someone just watching the match as a fan, was like, ah man, this is better than Becky Lynch versus Natalya. This is, technically speaking, as a match, this was a lot better. Yes, they had a lot more highlight moves in the Becky and Natalya one, but technical wrestling, I think Ember and Bayley won that out. Bayley did win with a big Bayley to belly off the top rope. It looked like Ember was going for the Eclipse, but Bayley converted it to a Bayley belly. She wins. She retains her SmackDown Women's title. I think this was the right decision. Do I think we're going to see Ember versus Bayley again? Maybe we might have to have Ember turn heel, but I can't see them doing that just yet, so I'm going to say no. I think this is the last of their feud for now, until Ember turns heel. So for me, I'm going to give the match itself a 2.5 out of 5. Next up, a match I was really looking forward to. This was Shane O'Mac versus Kevin Owens. If KO loses, he has to quit the WWE, and Shane O'Mac made it so much brilliant, so much better, because I was like, oh, this could either go two ways. They're gonna somehow have interferences all the time by having Drew McIntyre get involved, or it's going to be a quick match and KO just destroys Shane straight away. But they made it brilliant because they had Shane go straight to the mic before the match, started. Said he's now inserted a special enforcer for the match, and who else was it going to be but Elias? And Elias got interfered in the match quite a lot, and this was absolutely irritating Kevin Owens. At one point, KO was so annoyed. Elias threw a chair in, and KO picks it up, and Shane's just like, "Go on, do it, hit me there," because he knows if KO gets DQ'd, he has to quit the company. He gets rid of a chair. He starts fighting against Shane. Shane does use the Elias's distractions quite a lot to try and get an upper hand, but it doesn't seem like Shane really makes too much damage on KO. KO is pretty much aggressive throughout this whole match. KO does take out the referee and Elias, and then KO takes the steel chair, just absolutely destroys Elias with the steel chair. So you got Corey Graves like, he's attacking an official, someone call this match, that's it, he's disqualified, KO's lost his job. He tries to go for Shane O'Mac with the steel chair, but the official gets back in the ring. He drops it, gives it to the official. The official is about to take it out of the ring. KO just kicks Shane in the nuts, then hits the stunner. The referee does not see KO hit him in the nuts, hits him with a stunner. 1, 2, 3. KO wins. I thought this was fair. I really enjoyed this match. Now be interested. Like I stated, does this build up to another KO Shane O'Mac match? And I think it should do. Like I've been saying from my predictions, I want to see Kevin Owens, Team KO versus Team Shane. But it might not happen. I hope it does. Because that would be absolutely brilliant. But yes, I absolutely love this match. I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5 because for the match itself, technically, it was just a basic match, but with everything going on with Elias and Shane, it just made it so much more fun. Next up, we had the best women's match of the night. I would say the second best match of the night as well. It was Charlotte Flair versus Trish Stratus. Now, before this match even started, I was a bit concerned because Trish looks absolutely amazing. She looks so brilliant. But like, it's been quite a while where she's had a singles match. Yes, she did tag with Lita at Evolution, and she looked really sharp in there. I think Lita looked a lot sharper than Trish did in the Evolution one, but this was the first time. And Trish came across brilliant in this match. Charlotte was in control at the start. Charlotte was being very cocky, because like, Charlotte is an in-ring competitor all year round. She trains, she travels, she wrestles, and that's what Charlotte's life is. Trish has been a mom for quite a long time, and that's the story they were selling here, and they did a fantastic job. Trish was pulling off moves which she was just, yes, she did fail to hook in her legs for the Hurricane, in the match, and Charlotte had to help her out. But apart from that, yes, there was a few little botches here and there, but it didn't really take away from the match itself, in my opinion. And Charlotte Flair getting hooked into a whole submission move. That's right, Trish Stratus hit the figure 4. I mean, she hit the figure 8 on Charlotte Flair. No, I've not seen anyone else pull that off. Charlotte did win the match with her own figure 8 on Trish Stratus. Trish did tap, but for me, Trish, it's a great way to, that's it, last match, final match. What a way to go out. You've lost to possibly the biggest women's wrestler in history. Is Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair for me she's going to be an icon when she retires. That's how big she's going to be as important for the women's division. Do I see her catching up to her forever with 16 titles? Yeah, I could see WWE doing it. And would we argue? A little bit, but not as much. I think Charlotte is one of those competitors where you go, yeah, she needs to hold a title. I think she'll hold the title at some point by the end of this year anyway. But yeah, brilliant match by both women. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. So impressed with Trish Stratus. Next up, we had Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE title. This was a good match until the end. I think that is the fairest way of saying this. I think Kofi and Randy the match itself was building up really nicely. I think both men were just pulling off moves, working each other fantastically. Kofi started off the hottest. He really was very aggressive to Randy. Randy manages to convert it for himself. He does hit an RKO on Kofi Kingston, but doesn't manage to put him away, which is also fantastic. And then we got to the end, and I think that's where a lot of fans got annoyed, and I can see why. Randy goes out to pick up Kofi. Kofi's kids and his wife are there watching on ringside. Randy's picking up Kofi, like enjoying, showing these kids he's torturing their dad. And then next thing we know, the referee calls off the match. It looks like it's because they got to 10 count. That was the quickest 10 count. We didn't even hear the referee counting, which, even the fans were like, whoa, that's bull. That's bull. And I think that's what annoyed the fans, because the match ended in count out by both men. Kofi goes berserk, obviously, because Randy is trying to intimidate his kids. Kofi goes berserk, starts hitting Randy Orton with kendo sticks, takes out Randy Orton with Trouble in Paradise, and that's the end of a match. It's cool. I get it. They want to continue this feud, and it makes sense. The feud's only just started, but someone tweeted online last night about it, and I saw it this morning. Was Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton? Any match at SummerSlam, any match, it should be a conclusion at the Big Four, like SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and WrestleMania. Those should be conclusions. They shouldn't be like a stepping stone to the next pay-per-view, so these feuds can continue. And I kind of agree. I was like, yeah, it makes sense. The Big Four should be ending points for these matches, and I think that's what a lot of fans, because the second that count out happened, all the fans just turned on it anyway. This match was starting off really well, it was really building up, and then they just ruined it, and I completely agree. But what we did get with a berserk Kofi Kingston, which we haven't seen since Daniel Bryan, Kofi versus Daniel, I thought was really well put together at the end. They did save it a little bit, in my opinion, having Kofi just destroy Randy Orton. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Next up, we had Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor. This is the Fiend's debut match, and my god, only thing I can say about this match was "Let me in." That's just the entrance. Bray Wyatt, the first thing I was like, oh my god, this entrance is awesome. A heavy metal version of the Firefly theme song. You have the Fiend with a new lantern, which is Bray Wyatt's dismantled head as it reminded me of Beetlejuice kind of style, like that. I was just like, oh my god, that's brilliant. I loved it. It was creepy. It was that. I'm gonna have an image posted here. I will have an image of the lantern because it's just fantastic. Bray Wyatt versus Finn. I saw some people complain about this match. I was like, this match was brilliant. It did everything I wanted it to do. But some people are like, no, Finn should have just been squashed. I was like, no, because you don't want to just squash Finn. Because if this is true and Finn's going away for a while, we want to have a little bit of a good showing, and that's what we got. The Fiend was in control from the start. The mind games really did affect Finn Balor. Then Finn started fighting back a little bit, and then the Fiend he took out Finn Balor. The mandible claw on to Finn Balor. Finn Balor's just taken out. He's paralysed. He can't move. The referee counts does the 3 count. Finn Balor loses. Bray Wyatt. The lights go off, flashing. Bray go back up to it. You just have this flashing. You just see Bray Wyatt looking back into the ring, and it's just the creepiest thing you've ever seen. I'm glad the match we had a little bit of a match, but it was majority the Fiend destroying Finn Balor. So for me, I'm going to give this match a 3 out of 5 stars. It did exactly what I wanted it to do for Bray Wyatt's new debut character. So yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I did get a little bit terrified. It was a bit of me like, oh god, I'm not going to sleep tonight. But it was so good. Last but not least, for SummerSlam, we had Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. This is the one match I was most concerned about. I was like, right, we're going to go through this. This is going to be, you know, suplex, F5, and Brock retains. And that's exactly what I was expecting from this match. God damn it, WWE, don't give me expectations and you know, not deliver. But yeah, it was brilliant. This really worked out great. At the start of the match, you had people booing Seth Rollins, and by the end of the match, you had everyone just cheering for Seth, and that's how good this match was. It managed to save the Seth Rollins character, and that's what the important thing was. Brock went for a suplex. Seth managed to stay on his legs. He went for the stomp. Brock, I think he hit Brock with like 4 stomps in this match. That's how many, you know, they made Brock Lesnar still feel like an absolute destructive part of nature. Seth survived an F5. He got hit with an F5, but Brock was so taken out because he had stomp, a super kick, that he couldn't capitalize on pinning Seth Rollins with the F5. He tried to go again with hitting Seth with the F5 next to the ring post. Seth managed to get out of it. You could just see Paul Heyman's expression just changing while this match went. So Brock's control from the start to where he was losing was just brilliant. So Paul was like the Chester cat. He was there grinning all the way through the start, and then you just see concern just seeping in. And Paul, you know what, I know you should watch the match yourself, but if you get a chance and rewatch it like I did, you really get to see the facial expressions of Paul Heyman just change, and that just shows you the evolution of this match. And it wasn't just Paul Heyman's face, it was the crowd itself as well. The crowd really gave him a part of this match as well, from hating Seth Rollins to really cheering for Seth Rollins and absolutely exploding with joy when Seth Rollins did finally put a final curb stomp on Brock Lesnar and wins the Universal title back. This was an absolute brilliant match. Brock Lesnar's selling was brilliant. Brock Lesnar being an absolute beast was brilliant. I'm not a huge Brock Lesnar fan. I have a friend who's a huge Brock Lesnar fan. Haas, this is your call out, and he always states how big of a thing Brock Lesnar is, and I go, yeah, he's alright. But this really made me more of a appreciated Brock Lesnar a lot more through this match. So brilliant. Seth Rollins was just fantastic, and we got pyro. We actually got pyro. At the end of the show, we got pyro. That was the biggest return in my opinion. Yeah, we got pyro when Brock Lesnar entered. We had pyro after Seth won the title, and I was like, oh my god, we got pyro back. So yes, what am I going to score this match? Well, as you can tell, I was a huge fan of this match. I think this was the best match of the night, and that's why it was the main event. Surprise, surprise. So for me, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. And there you go, guys. That was SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer. And what did I think? I thought this was a damn good SummerSlam. I think it was better than the SummerSlam we got last year. I think it's probably one of the better SummerSlams we've had in a while. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was brilliant. I think the way they worked it really worked. I think they did. I think every match from the kickoff show matches were good, and then they moved into the main show, and everything just moved up to really good. Best matches for me of the night was definitely Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. Best match of the night. AJ versus Ricochet, fantastic. Trish Stratus and Charlotte, fantastic as well. I also found Edge's return for the kickoff show really pumped up the crowd when he came out. So that was a good thing from WWE. And spearing, so you know, he's the best thing ever. So what can I say? I'm a fanboy for Edge. So what am I going to score SummerSlam this year? Well, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. Absolutely brilliant pay-per-view. It delivered where I thought it wouldn't. So yeah. But that's my review, guys. What did you guys think? What was your favourite part of SummerSlam? What was your favourite match? Leave it in the comments below. We're gonna have a poll on the side, so please select your favourite match from there. And if you do like our content, like I said at the start of this video, please like, subscribe, and press that bell to keep notified. And if you want to follow us on the old Twitter, it's at SmackTalkYouTube. That's a U and a tube. And if you want to follow me on the old Twitter, it's at Boise88. And I'll see you guys next time on Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews.